From our studios in Kingstown, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, it's your favorite Thursday night show, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the host of tonight's show, Sehon Marshall.
Good night, and welcome to this another edition of your favorite Thursday night show, Up Late with Sehon Marshall. It's me, your friend Sehon, here with you, and I'll be with you here for another hour or thereabout. Now, I don't know what is happening, but the platform I use to bring stream this show has been messing up, or at least tonight was messing up because we started just about 9 o'clock, and I'm not sure what was happening. So I put out a link, and I'm not sure if that link is still working. So those of you who are on your WhatsApp or what have you, could you please test the links that I have out on WhatsApp and Facebook and make sure that it's the same link to this show? Excuse me, because I may have to put another link out. So let me know, please. But welcome. Thank you so much. I have been looking forward to today for so long. And hey, I gotta thank you guys for the support. Let me start beating my chest because I realize that it does scratch up plenty because I had the mic on me. Right? But let me thank you guys so much for the support because I am here waiting on the program to go live. And people messaging me, what going on? So you guys are there, you're ready, you're waiting, and I really appreciate that. It shows the love that you have for this program. So let me thank you so much. So please, um, let me know uh, if you are seeing the link, if the link that I posted is a good link. And as always, whenever you log on, whenever you log on with where you're logging on from. Mention where you're logging on from. If it's in St. Vincent, mention where in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. If you're overseas, mention the country. All right. And if it's home, like Mississippi, mention home. Right? But please, because I'd love to know where you're viewing from. All right. That really helps me to be able to engage with you wherever you are. It's a beautiful Thursday evening, Thursday night. I know some of you in North America and also in Europe might be having a really cold evening. So I don't envy you for that. And then those of our comrades or brothers and sisters over there in the Middle East who have to be running and ducking for shelter every 2 seconds because of incoming missiles, our prayers are with you. All right? Now something wrong here because I don't understand how come me not see none of my comrades them start to type and message yet because my comrade them does message. Me not understand what go on. So let me just do that a little bit there and see if that will help me because my comrades them does message long time. I mean, I understand how come my comrade them don't start to message to say, yo, Sian, this is XYZ, this is so and so and so. Good night from wherever and wherever. All right, but maybe yeah. All right. Okay. So again, let me welcome you guys to the program this evening and thank you so much for joining. Let me also encourage you as always to like, to share, to subscribe, and to activate membership. Now, viewers, my analytics are showing me, right? I see somebody from the UK. Good evening. Well, for you, good morning. My analytics are showing me that about 70% of the people who view this program are not subscribed. 70%. Now, on average, we get around 1,500, 2,000 views a week. So let's go to the high end and see, on average, because there are shows that go to 2,500, 3,000 views and so forth. You could go back on YouTube and see for yourself. But if you're getting 2,000 views, it means 1,400 of the viewers are not subscribed. If last week we had about 200 and something people logged on live, 200 plus, it means that what, 160 of you are 140 of you are not subscribed, and I really want you to subscribe to the channel. So I'm encouraging you to please, if you have a YouTube account, subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get all of the alerts so that you know when we are on. And I big up the persons who have activated membership. I have 9 members activated so far. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate that, spending your hard-earned money in support of this program. And I want to encourage more of you to activate membership as well if you can. Now, as I said previously, it is not available for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So it is primarily for those individuals in North America, in Europe, and so forth, where that function is available on your YouTube. So I'm asking you to please, if you can, and you're willing to activate that membership. And there are those of you who would like to support. People have reached out to me both on social media, met me in person, and asked, how can I support? If you're overseas, again, North America and so forth, and you're accustomed to using the Zelle feature, or whatever you want to call it, scrolling at the bottom of the screen is the information for our Zelle. So if you want to, that's our information. Just put it in and Zell us if you want to support us, if you want to donate to support the program to keep it running. That's the information right there. You don't need anything else. That's the number. You go into your Zelle app, and boom, you can send us, whatever donation you feel motivated to, inspired to give. All right. So we look forward to that, and we appreciate every single cent that you send. All right. So we see some people from UK, from New York. I think SM. But when I come at SM, I almost thought I was St. Martin, but there's somebody calling me SM, but I Sehon Marshall. Anika, where you from? UK again is there. Um, Val wants to know. Val, somebody will go show you how to use Zelle. Ask Sharon for help you out. And Sharon will help you out as to how to use Zelle. All right. More Brooklyn in the house. Thank you so much, comrades, for tuning in. All right. Now, hey, I keep talking about this. By the way, um, uh, my niece Abby tell me how to do things. Thank you very much, Abby. I appreciate that. Now, this week, Present Please is just taking off in a phenomenal way. As I've said many times on this program, that's how people approach me. That's how they greet me. Present Please. I walk to Kingstown. I'm anywhere across the country. Yeah, a few days ago, I was in Georgetown. I had something to do out there, and I stopped by my good comrade, Miss Georgetown. Everybody knows Miss Georgetown if you listen to Star Radio. And while I was there, her neighbor came to her, and was on the other side of the yard, at the fence, and was motioning to her. And when she went to the neighbor said, "Who that be? Let's present, please. Let's present, please, over there." So I find it so heartwarming. It's almost a type of endearment now when I meet people, and all listen to Miss Present, please. I smile because I really enjoy that. And so you guys are really making this program go places. And just during this week, I was able to do something just on behalf of the church that I grew up with. Don't attend it much anymore, but I grew up with it, and I was proud of what they were doing. And somebody from Chateaubriand, I will call them name, but they're from Chateaubriand, they're living overseas. They reached out to me. And just because I mentioned church and Sister Marshall, the person say, "Sehon, you mentioned something about Sister Marshall and church, I want to donate." And the person was able to send the donation towards the event that the Adventist Church is having on the weekend. So let me thank that person. I wouldn't call the name, but let me thank that person. And it clearly shows that Present Please is having an impact. It's out there, it's reaching people, and it's only because of you. All right, guys. So let me thank you so much for that. All right. So I have a few things to deal with this tonight. Just two things I want to talk about tonight. And I'll spend about 15 minutes on the first part. And then the second part of the show, half an hour, I'll deal with the second part. All right. So we're going to be on time. Don't worry. We're going. Well, in truth and in fact, we've only been 10 minutes in because we started a little late. All right. All right. Now, all right. Good night. All right. I'm my student, corporal student. Right. My students are corporal and police. Right. Um. Okay. Let me see this again. I see one. No boy, like there's a new one. I think I might have hold on the. I think I might have sent the wrong. I think I might have sent the wrong clip out, the wrong thing out on the social media. I know I didn't tell me. As I pull that down. Yes, it's the wrong one with the out. So I have to change that one because the links are wrong. The links are bad. So I'm going to have to go and delete those links on my socials, because the links I posted on my socials are actually the wrong link, and people who would go on my status would see the wrong thing. You know what I mean? So anyway, so let me tap, because we're late already. All right. Now I got to share it on the status, man. Come on. Right. Let me do this. Sorry. So I'll do this. Me comrade from North Leeward who didn't like this. Sorry, my bad. But I'm going to have to go and do this all over again, because unfortunately it didn't work the first time. All right, so I'm going to have to do it again and again and again and again and again. And my apologies, but we'll get through. We'll get through. We'll get through. We'll get through it all. Don't worry. Um, that 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 that. All right, we go there. We do that. Paste. That's up. Sorry, comrades. I really am. I beg your pardon, all of you. But I have to take these down, because if they are wrong, then it doesn't make no sense. All right. So yes, this one is have to be deleted. This one here, because it doesn't make no sense. Oh my word! I'm so sorry. I am so sorry. Move. All right. So let's get this up now. My comrades, please forgive me as I do this. How do I do a post again? Anyway, all right. Well, let me go. So today, the motion in the court started. The motion in the court started today, and it was just the starting. So today was really for instructions and so forth. Now, you know what the motion is all about, right? You have a situation where some individuals, two of the candidates, well, actually, no, it was not just the candidates, but constituents, brought a motion to challenge the legality of the election of Dwight Fitzgerald Bramble and Godwin Friday in the court. And it's a question that we believe the court should answer. Now, that seems to have triggered the NDP fanatics in a really major way. They're angry, they're upset that, according to them, the ULP and Ralph are trying to change the will of the people. But sometimes I think they just forget, They just forget. Because I remember distinctly in 2015, in 2015, after the elections in St. Vincent, that the ULP won 8-7, Ben Exeter, who ran for the NDP in Central Leeward, was defeated by over 300 something votes by Sir Louis Hilton Straker. And I remember the second day, or rather the day after the election, which was the day of the recount, a mob of NDP supporters found their way to Layu to wreak havoc outside of the police station where the recount was going to happen. And the NDP, the New Democratic Party, its leadership, its candidates, its supporters, its mouthpieces, spread lies across this country about the validity of the election that took place in Central Leeward. You heard all kind of things about ballot boxes being found. I believe the new ambassador to the UN was the main cheerleader for that, posting all sorts of conspiracy nonsense on social media. And they waited until, I can't remember how many days it was, to file a particular type of motion, very strategic, in the courts here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. There were no protests. Nobody from the ULP cussed them. They were allowed to do what they saw fit. The problem I had with them was the disrespect, the trauma they caused, the terror they brought to an honorable woman, Sylvia Finley. Someone who people knew as a pillar of our society, where she grew up in Barley and she lived. A lady who mothered, figuratively, hundreds of students that passed through her hands, either as a teacher or as their principal. But the NDP terrorized Sister Finley for years. Crazies camping out. They forget that. They sought to thwart the will of the people of Central Leeward in a validly held elections. Actually, there were two. I believe one was in Central Leeward, and I can't remember what the other one was. Do you know at the end of it all what the court found? The court found that the actions were frivolous, waste of time, and vexatious. I could go look what the word frivolous means. When the court characterizes something as frivolous and vexatious, you understand that the court is almost sucking its teeth with regards to that matter. You know, when my daddy was alive, and for those of you who have parents from my generation, not parents my age, but you're all in my generation and you have older parents, nonsense was one of the words they use. So, you could imagine that your mom and dad are home talking serious things about the bills and so on. And you come go talk about the puppy downstairs and how the puppy been a lick your foot and so on. And your brothers say, look at that frivolous thing you come to talk about. We're talking something serious. Or they're talking about your schoolwork. Val, come, bring your schoolbook. Let me see your exam. Let me see what you do. And while they're going through your exam sheets and so on to see what you did and to probably help you study for the next exam and so forth, you're talking about some TV, some show that you see on TV and some a team and so forth. And they say, well, what kind of frivolous foolishness you're talking about? And I'm trying to deal with your schoolwork. That is the context. To contextualize for you what it means when the court says it's frivolous and vexatious. It's not a serious matter. They're taking the court to make a joke. That's what the court found. But in this case, you look and there is precedence. You had a case that is similar in Australia. You had a case that's similar in Jamaica. You had a case that's similar in St. Kitts and Nevis. Serious matter. And in each of those cases, the court ruled. So this is not joke matter. This is no comedy show that the applicants, the petitioners are getting involved in. This is a question that needs to be settled once and for all. Can someone with dual citizenship, regardless to where they're from, and in this case, the argument that is being put forward by the respondents is that, listen, we are members of the Commonwealth and always swear to the king, and so died of foreign power. Well, let's test that. Let the court interpret that, and let's see if that is so. But like with the NDP and its cult-like supporters, they cannot address and deal with any type of challenge at all. They cannot deal with any type of challenge at all. It's the same way, If you go on social media and you see anyone criticizing, I see my good comrade sister Audrey Jilks posting some things that they sending to her page and the inbox. Nasty. And why? Because she's criticizing. They send them to me too, both inbox and on my posts, simply because I criticize. Mind you, I am not disrespecting, I am not slandering anybody or defaming anyone. I'm merely criticizing. And in many instances, I am asking questions based on their own pronouncements. But they can't even handle that. This is the Trump type, dictatorial type of attitude of these NDP supporters where how dare you question? How dare you challenge? And just a few months ago, they were the ones busy challenging and criticizing everything publicly every single day. But no, you can't even ask a question based on something they said. They have a problem with that. So, for example, when the Minister of National Security says that $500 million worth of coke wash up on we shows, people coming after me. A guy who's a doctor in this country came on one of the posts and tried to challenge me. But you see, over in the echo chamber where he meddles and dabbles, whatever he passes off as intellect, that somehow attracts some irreverent type of unnecessary type of reverence. Let me put it that way. In that cocoon where he dabbles, where his comments and posts are treated with an unnecessary type of reverence, he's not used to being challenged. Well, buddy, you bright, I bright too. And he kept trying to tell me how much I don't understand, but he couldn't explain it. And kept deflecting with these subtle digs. Oh, maybe if one of your friend tell you, no, I want you tell me. I met a good friend of mine yesterday at one of the supermarkets in the country, and he raised the issue of the 500 million cocaine. He said, but Sehon, the man didn't say that the $500 million cocaine was washed up on the show, you know. I said, okay. So explain to me the context of the $500 million then. Since you are convinced that he wasn't referring to that amount of cocaine washing up on our shores, please explain to me the context within which he used the $500 million worth of cocaine. Because he said, it's not a small amount of drugs. As I am told, it's over $500 million worth of cocaine. What? What about it? What about it? And the question I ask, if he's not talking about the value of the cocaine that washed up on our shores, is he referring to the value of the cocaine that was on the ship before it was blown up? How he know that? He been there? So if it is not the cocaine that washed up on the shore, if it's not that, what is he referring to then? Is he referring to the cocaine that was on the boat prior to the strike? And if that is it, how could he have ascertained that? So, until you tell me the context or the relevance of the $500 value that he mentioned, I am going to go away with the firm understanding that he was suggesting that was what was watched upon our shores. But they have a problem with me asking that question. Do you remember? And I don't want to spend too long on this party because we're still talking about the motion, you know. And the fact that people are angry and upset because there's a motion being filed to answer a legitimate question, while they for years brought frivolous and vexatious things to the court and thought it was okay. They brought frivolous and vexatious matters to the court for years, and they thought it was okay. You remember during the election, they edited a tape. They take two tape, make one, to try and say that Dr. Gonzalez suggested that one of them went to university, a girl, and come back a boy. Again, now that was something where the materially, according to the judgment, misled the court. They lied to the court. They take two tapes, make one to try and create an impression. Two tapes from two different meetings. They take them, put it together as if it was said at the same meeting to try and fabricate a case to try and get Dr. Gonzalez tied up in the court. I remember that, and that was an offense that should have amounted in that lawyer being this bad. But they forget all of that. They forget all of that. And now this legitimate challenge, they have a problem with it. And they're going up and down and cussing because they can't take being challenged. And why? Because they're weak. They can't stand the challenge because they have no substance. I'm not in any way suggesting that the applicants, the petitioners are going to run away with this, and they're going to win. That's not the point. But if there's a case to answer the case and they move on. You ain't got to cuss about it. You ain't got to cuss about it. But they don't want nobody question nothing. They don't want nobody ask nothing. You can't ask nothing in the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Hey, you must say yes, yes, yes. It's fantastic. Things are going well. You remember, I'm sure you guys do, that under Ralph Gonzalez, everything happened. You got two responses at the same time. You got everything he talking. He not even letting ministers and them do nothing. He just want talk. You remember that? But the minute something happens and a day passes and Dr. Gonzalez doesn't speak, where is the Prime Minister? We need to hear the Prime Minister. I remember. Oh God, tell me I remember. Tell me it's not me alone. Tell me I ain't dreaming. Please. Where's the Prime Minister? Up to this day, we hearing nothing from the Prime Minister. And I remember one time, I had to call in to Hot 97. And I said to them, guys, you can't have it both ways. You can't on the one hand want the Prime Minister to hush him out. And then, when something happens and he doesn't speak, want to know why he's not speaking. But no. Friday doesn't speak. And no one asks, where's the Prime Minister? We had, from the time he came into office, we had different things happening. We had the issue with Maduro. Friday. I don't think he has yet spoken officially on that matter specifically as Prime Minister. Bramble has spoken. We had the matter of boat strikes in our waters. I saw something at the press conference where he was talking about he getting his information from social media. So it's social media. He getting it news from social media. So social media, look at the $500 million from. But he's the same man who said he don't run the ministry on social media. So I ain't sure what's going on. We have not heard a statement coming from Dr. Friday on the port strikes. Cuba is being strangled by the US. We've not heard a statement from Dr. Friday. As a matter of fact, When asked about it in St. Kitts, Dr. Friday said, I'm going to leave it to the heads. Now, I agree with you that CARICOM can have a position, but you and I both know that based on the division in CARICOM with Trinidad and Guyana and so forth, there is not going to be a consensus position that is sufficiently strong coming out of CARICOM. So we are in position. If you were following, and many businesses were following a lot of international matters during the last administration, when Dr. Gonzal goes to the UN, the General Assembly, countries would have their statements. They would present their statements. But there are two things you could count on from a St. Vincent and Grenadines statement. You can count on a very strong stance regarding Taiwan, and you could count on a very strong stance regarding Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua. You could count on that. Our country never left those serious matters up to CARICOM because we understood that because CARICOM deals on a consensus basis where we all have to agree, you would never have a sufficiently strong statement because somebody would not be happy with the strength of it and say, no, take out that. That's too strong. I ain't like that word day. I ain't like that. St. Vincent might say the kidnapping of Maduro. Trinidad would say, no. Kidnapping, no. He was arrested. And so, St. Vincent ain't happy with arrested. Trinidad ain't happy with kidnapping. You come with a word that is what? Maybe taking as a compromise. And so, St. Vincent, in its own statement, could then say the kidnapping of Maduro, even as CARICOM says, the taking of Maduro. As an example, that's how these things work. But he said, no, I'm going to leave it to the heads. St. Vincent and Grenadines has students in Cuba, and you're leaving a statement regarding what is happening to all citizens in Cuba to CARICOM? Then I saw a statement over the weekend on Iran. Again, they hide behind, let me tell you what it say. They hide behind this CARICOM thing so much. And honestly, it's always not in statement. I found the first paragraph of the statement. I think I should send it to the director so that the director could put it up for me. Because I think I want this to go up so we could see while I'm reading it. Because it's an interesting statement. And the first paragraph tells you all you need to know. Director got it? All right, try and put it up there for me, please, so I can share with our viewers what the statement from St. Vincent and Grenadines says. It is so cowardly. It is so cowardly as a statement, comrades. I ain't joking. And I ain't just saying so because I want to be critical. I'm talking the truth. And my director will put it up so you can see just now. I will put it up so you can see. I will put it up so you can see. You could put it up whole for me, please. So I could read it with those who are watching. The statement is so cowardly. It's so weak. It says nothing really. And it's the hiding behind of CARICOM that can't take, as if St. Vincent and the Grenadines cannot take a position. We as a country, as a sovereign state, must be able to take a position on our own. Yes, we can coordinate with CARICOM for the general state. people experiencing the violence or affected by the escalation? What about the condemnation of those who attack the sovereign state unprovoked? And when you say in accordance with Article 2, Article 2 has about 7 sub-articles, 7 or 8 sub-articles. I don't have it in front of me now, but if my memory serves me right. You want to talk about Article 2.3 and 2.4 that talks about non-interference and non-intervention, that talks about the refraining from the threat of force and the use of force in the settlement of dispute. That's what you want to talk about. Those are the sub-articles that are offended by what is happening in the Middle East. But they can't say that. And if I talk, they're coming after me. If you criticize it, they're coming after you. Because you're not supposed to say anything. And again, keep in mind, not a statement by the Prime Minister of this country. But I can't say nothing. Because if I open my mouth, they come in to tell me where I was born, how I was made, and who was responsible. But they can't stop me. And they could squeal all they want. The matter, the petition, is going forward. And the court will answer once and for all the matter of dual citizenship. And at the end of the day, Friday could prevail and Bramble could prevail, and okay. So we know right now dual citizenship is not an issue once in a Commonwealth country. You find out how to put it up now? The director, you put it up there. First paragraph. First paragraph says, the government and people of St. Vincent and Grenadines, in line with Article 2 of the UN Charter. Which sub-article? You mean in line with, because not all of Article 2 was offended by what is happening in the Middle East. Not all. But they're hiding behind CARICOM. So St. Vincent and Grenadines on its own can't come out and say, listen, we urge. There's nothing in this, There's nothing in this that says we urge all parties. Let me read them. Let me read them clearly. Yes, paragraph 3. We reiterate the call for all parties involved to uphold the best tenets of international law and principles of the UN Charter. We encourage all parties involved to recall their obligation as sovereign states to do everything within their power in times of conflict and disagreement to choose dialogue and negotiation ahead of armed conflict. So they're pretty much summarizing what the Article 2.4 says. A war in the Middle East has consequences that are detrimental to all of us. But this statement is just... This is frivolous and vexatious, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. It's better than write nothing. If you can't condemn the aggression, and you can't condemn people who blown up a school, killing 100 and something girls, because wrong is wrong. War crimes are war crimes. And it doesn't matter who commits them. It doesn't matter who commits them. And yes, it's a big, powerful state. But say something. And yes, I am going to be critical if I believe that the statement made by our government doesn't do much. We're coward, we're timid. And who want to come after me is their business. Who want to come after me is their business. But I'm going to talk. And in the same way you used to criticize, you go take the criticism. And the criticism will either make you stronger or make you buckle. And at the rate how they're going, it seems like you make all the buckle because they can't handle it. Y'all not doing the work. And y'all vex when people point out the fact that y'all not doing the work. You think we elect all you go and grin the camera at supposedly, eh? And smile and put on shades and smile. You think smiling is what is one government? Eh? You think smiling is what is one government? Which brings me to the next segment. I went straight into it. I heard Dr. Friday. I see somebody from Missouri, Kansas City. All right, good night to you. Saw a press conference. And Friday was talking. Dr. Friday, sorry, Prime Minister was talking. He was talking about the Middle East conflict. Now I want to go back, and I ain't gonna lie for all you. Now we have people who've been bred from a long time. I've been bred from a long time, but the vocabulary kept growing. And I remember the first time I heard the phrase exogenous shocks. It was around 2007, 2008. I heard it as Ralph Gonsalves delivered. I believe it was an independence message. I can't remember if it was the independence. But from that moment, it was seared into my memory. Exogenous shocks. He was talking about the global financial crisis that happened around 2007. And he was making the point that these are global traumatic events that impact the world and have an even bigger impact on us as small island states that we had nothing to do with. It's a shock, something that shocked the world. And the global financial crisis was one such event. I remember it happened at about the time when we started to build the airport. We had all these commitments from different countries to help us build the airport, coalition with Mexico and so on and so on. And then boom, global financial crisis. And people couldn't assist us as much as they wanted to anymore. So a lot of us was brought back on us. And I learned the phrase and tried to understand the entire concept. Exogenous, outside. Endogenous, that's how you would go. Endogenous, I think, and exogenous. I believe so. Don't quote me. Don't quote me, please. But there's endo and exo. Exo is outside. Endo is inside. So endo is something that we cause of our making. Exo is something that outside. Outside of our making, outside of our control. So the global financial crisis, we not a stock market, we weren't trading and so on. We had nothing to do with the creation of it, but we felt the impacts of it. I remember those years. And then in 2013, we had a period of a trough just before Christmas Eve, just at Christmas Eve time, the day before Christmas, that flooded out St. Vincent and the Grenadines, wiped out 17% of our GDP in a few hours. Mash up bridge, mash up house, kill people and so forth. Exogenous, again, because it's outside of our doing, outside of our control. We didn't cause the storm. We didn't cause the financial crisis, which was something man-made, but not of our doing. We didn't cause the rains. We didn't cause the flooding outside of our doings. But regardless to whether we caused it or not, it impacted our country. And we, in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, had to find ways of addressing it because the lives and livelihoods of people of Vincentians were interrupted, were affected. One family in Rosebank, everybody dead in the house. I'll remember that. Houses in Spring Village, shops and so on, wash away. I remember in the aftermath of that, as the government was seeking to get people's lives together, there's a whole new village above the playing field in Cumberland called Hollywood. That entire village is a village built out of that disaster where the government of this country replaced the homes of Vincentian nationals. The entire village. Nobody there paid a dime for their house. That was in response to one of those exogenous shocks outside of we control. And I remember in addressing that, the response of the then leader of the opposition, Adam Eustace, was to go and negotiate with these companies that sell appliances and furniture to take up the VAT. I hope I'll remember, because like, I think some of you remember this, I think this happened for so long, and Labour made it so easy that I think plenty of you forget. So I might have to be reminding all it tonight. The solution by then leader of the opposition, Adam Eustace, was to speak with those stores that deal with appliances and so on, and take off the VAT. It's a long time they have problem with VAT, It's a long time the NDP has been blaming everything on VAT. Take off the VAT. The Labour government said, nah, we're going to do one better than that. We'll give them appliances, brand new stove, brand new fridge. You can't build house, give people, and then left them for sleep and ground, pan mattress, and carry the meat by the neighbor, or could only buy one pound at a time because no fridge. No, you gotta go for people in their time of disaster. Exogenous. So you see where I'm going with this. Now, by 2016, after the 2015 elections, Godwin Friday was selected, appointed, whatever it is, leader of the New Democratic Party. But exogenous shocks didn't stop. So by 2020, 2020, we had the COVID-19 pandemic. One of the biggest global shocks. Right? Actually, before that, I think you had the war in Ukraine. Yes, you had the war in Ukraine. And with the war in Ukraine, gas prices and so on start to go up. Wheat prices go up, everything going up. So prices start to go up. There's a cessation of hostilities, and then I may be getting my timelines mixed up. So you go ahead me out here. But then we had COVID. And that was when it really got bad, because now everything was shut down. Because of the pandemic, everything was shut down. Countries closed their borders and so forth. Do you remember that the price for a bottle of hand sanitizer almost tripled within less than a week? You'd buy a hand sanitizer for $3 something, rubbing alcohol for $3 something, and then boom, it went over $10. That was the reality in St. Vincent and Grenadines, because now everybody was buying hand sanitizer to sanitize their hand and so on and so forth. And it is the experience of all of us that prices are like age. Remember they used to ask you, what goes up? That was on the riddle. Riddle me. What goes up doesn't come down? Prices. Back in the day, it used to be age. Eval? Eleti? Back in the day. Liti? Jill? Back in the day when somebody asked you, riddle me this, riddle me that, what goes up and never comes down? The answer was easy. Age. In today's economy, in today's time, what goes up never comes down. Prices. unless it is something that is regulated by the government, when it go up, it ain't coming back down. You could bet your bottom dollar the merchants are going to ensure that the prices stay where they are, even as the prices from their suppliers come down. They ain't reducing the prices for nothing. So up to today, hand sanitizers and rubbing alcohol are still expensive. But you could go New York and get some sanitizers relatively cheap. What goes up never come down. Prices. Now, let's remember that during the COVID-19 period, St. Vincent and the Grenadines never closed its borders. You have a discussion tonight, because I want to jog your memory a little bit. St. Vincent and the Grenadines never closed its borders. And as a matter of fact, Trinidad and Barbados, even though their borders were closed, they kept it open at least for produce from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We were feeding them during the COVID-19 pandemic. So much so that for 2020, I believe, in the height of the pandemic, we grew by 0.5 of a percentage point. 0.5 of a percentage point. Or was it 2021? I can't remember. Again. And what did this government do during those periods? Remember, tourist ships weren't coming. Planes weren't coming. So everything shut down. Nobody coming in. But no tourists coming, so hotels empty. The only little chance hotels got were Vincentian nationals who were coming home what we quarantined. But planes ain't coming, hotels ain't get nobody. So the farmers had nothing for no way for their produce, fishermen ain't going out and so forth. So what did the government do? The government decided that we have to stimulate economic activity. And so they went and bought produce from local farmers. Remember that? There was a depot in Rosebank. There were depots across the country where the government bought produce from farmers locally, packed them into boxes, and took those boxes for those who needed it most. That way, the farmers got money for the produce, and those most vulnerable got fed. I remember the government giving income support to fisher folk. Even DJs and so forth got money. And this was all in an effort to address the situation of the impact that this particular thing, in this case, the pandemic, was having on our economy. When there was the Ukraine-Russia offensive, and oil prices went up to almost $20-something a gallon, this government gave a subsidy. Not this government, Lord, not this year. The ULP administration gave a subsidy to van drivers. You remember that? A gas subsidy to van drivers to assist and alleviate the pressures that were brought on by the increase in oil prices. And we can go on and on, whether it's after the after the volcanic eruption first. And again, the way government put people up in homes, rebuild people's homes, and gave income support. Farmers were given support because their crops were destroyed and so forth. You remember that? All in an attempt to address the impact, the crippling impact of these exogenous shocks. Keep the term in your head. On our people, on the lives of our people. Same thing happened with Beryl. Income support. The Berry project was launched, assisting small businesses and fisher folk in the Grenadines, rebuilding people's homes. And we agree that the prices that went up as a result of things like COVID, the Ukraine war, never really came back down to where they used to be before any of those things. I wanted to paint that as a backdrop so we can understand where we are now. But the then opposition NDP crafted a message that spoke to a cost of living crisis. According to then opposition leader Godwin Friday and his team, there was a cost of living crisis in this country that was brought on by the mismanagement of the ULP government of the economy. That was the reason prices were high. Nothing else. I never heard Godwin Friday, as opposition leader, speak to COVID, volcano, Ukraine war, nothing responsible for some of the prices that we had and the inflation that we saw. Now, in America, inflation got to, I can't remember the figures, was it as high as, was it 5%? I can't remember, I really can't remember. Maybe those of you in America could remind me. By the time Trump was elected, it was about 2.7%. And it's still possibly around there now. But inflation went up in every single country. In St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we live in the world where inflation was going up around us. And so we experience inflation as well. Why? We explained all of that to you. But the dishonest NDP, led by Godwin Friday, ensured that no one or did their best to create a counter narrative that suggested no. What is happening here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the inflation that you're seeing here is because of economic mismanagement. Nothing more, nothing less. There's a cost of living crisis. That was where things like put the money where the pain is came in. Because people who are going through pain, the ULP was mismanaging the economy. There's high inflation. Things are expensive. People can't buy food. And it's because of the ULP. And people bought that. People started to cannibalize and blame Ralph. The fantastic radio programs in the morning all joined in. And every morning, every discussion was about the economy and how labor doing. And then they would make some comparisons about whose salary and whose salary, as if somebody's salary could prevent inflation. So there was no cooperation with the opposition, from the opposition then, in speaking to our people in an honest way about what we were experiencing and suggesting that, listen, a lot of this is not of our making and not of our fault. So there has to be some personal responsibility and some personal choices. And I remember going on Morning Scoop over and over. Those of you who used to tune into Morning Scoop remember me talking about your choices. We're eating. Instead of buying the rice, well, we just produce rice here, but instead of buying the imported things, your cornflakes, your Cheerios and your Fruit Loops and so on, buy farine. You should say also, buy grain corn. We can go to the market and buy the produce at the market. There's no VAT, there's no importation tax. Support local. If you change the way, if you change your consumption habit, that can help you in addressing the cost of living that you experience. We tried saying that over and over, but people weren't hearing it. They prefer to listen to the easy answer, blame Ralph and Labour. They're responsible for the cost of living crisis. They're the ones that the country had. According to them, the country had. Well, at a press conference this week, I heard Dr. Friday. I heard Dr. Friday addressing the issue of the conflict in the Middle East. And this is what Dr. Friday had to say.
We also, expect, this is again from the conflict, that there's a risk of imported inflation and the subsequent cost of living pressures, which we have experienced all too keenly coming out of the COVID crisis. And so we are very familiar with them. We're still coping, reacting or responding to them now. And so this situation that has developed in the war in the Middle East is something that is going to create serious problems for us, potentially, with there's so much of the stuff that we use is imported. And when the cost goes up in the countries where they are being made and the shipping situation creates greater concerns, that is imported here, and the price, it's essentially imported inflation.
What a man, eh? What a man. I heard Godwin Friday, Prime Minister of this country, tell individuals that we have been experiencing all too keenly the impacts of inflation and high prices since the COVID-19 pandemic. He said that 2 days ago. Do you want to tell me, Vincent Chance, that Godwin Friday didn't know this for the 5 years that he was talking about the cost of living crisis brought on by the ULP and its mismanagement? Do you want to tell me that Godwin Friday didn't know that in the same way the war in the Middle East is going to impact things, that the Ukraine war impacted the price of things? Do you want to tell me, Sehon Marshall, Mr. NDP supporter who ready to come and defend your party? That's all right, defend your party is yours. You are telling me that Godwin Friday didn't know before Tuesday that what we were having after the Ukraine war and COVID-19 was imported inflation? Has he just learned of the concept of imported inflation? Have we just started to import most of the things that we use? So, before you became Prime Minister, the things that we imported that we used that were expensive was because of Ralph and Labour and the mismanagement of the economy. That's why there's a cost of living crisis. That's why people can't afford things to buy. But as of Tuesday, where you're Prime Minister, and with an impending, with an ongoing conflict that will potentially have repercussions, as of Tuesday, you're telling people, be careful and brace yourself, because what is happening in the Middle East is likely to have repercussions here in the regions as the prices of things go up, and then we have to import those things in this country. And you get upset with me because I say Dr. Godwin Friday, Prime Minister of this country, is dishonest, that he deceived Vincentians, he lied to Vincentians, and he created a false hope for many Vincentians by telling them that the issue of price rises that we were experiencing since the late 2018, 2019 was because of the mismanagement of the ULP, and that his party will tackle the cost of living crisis. But as soon as they get in, one of the things I always said to people, after the NDP won the elections, I always said to people, my concern is how they will deal with just one disaster, man-made or natural. Just one. Just one. a hurricane, some type of shock. Hmm? How are you going to deal with it? And now, not very far into their term, there's the first test. And I said that in one of the present pleas that there is a test that is coming, and it will be interesting to see how our new government handles that test. Because with oil tankers being blown up and threats to blow up any oil tanker that move to the strait, with the closing of the strait, with the strait that produces over 20% of the world's energy being impacted in this way, and with global crude prices going up, it is only a matter of time before the impact reach St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Only a matter of time. Only a matter of time. And so what then? What then? I'm wondering if I criticize, because you know the NDP don't like that, and I talk about the cost of living crisis in the country and how NDP is to be blamed, I wonder what the supporters are going to tell me. Because remember now, you and I was press secretary from 2019. So I've had to deal with the messaging surrounding the Russia-Ukraine matter, the COVID matter, the volcano matter, and so forth. I know. And I know what I had to deal with, the pushback and the misinformation and the outright lies that were being spread by the then opposition in trying to create a false narrative in our society, trying to blame the government. I know what I had to deal with. I know. So nobody can come tell me what used to be said out there. I was at the front line. And I was there calling in Hot 97. I was calling in Boom. I was on Star. I was there. I know what those who oppose the government were saying. But even before the conflict in the Middle East, those who campaign most vociferously for the government, this government, are already coming to their senses and their realization and having to admit, listen, we were lied to. We were lied to. But shame is a hell of a thing. Ego is a hell of a thing. And it appears to me now that it is not right to blame the government anymore for anything. Let me tell you something, I saw somebody on social media responding to, I wouldn't say going after, responding to some comments made by two people within the same crew. One had made some comments and somebody was going after that, the initial comments. And the response of the individual going after the responding to the first set of comments made. So this person made some comments and somebody came back to address the first comments directly. Said, give it time. Give them some time. What? Give them time. Oh, it's only 3 months now, no? It's only 3 months. It's only 3 months. Listen, if you're America, Canada, one of the G20 countries, you may be able to operate in test match like conditions where when somebody out, the new batsman can come in, a Shiv Chandapal, for example, and can take 4, 1, 5, and 6 overs and just block, stroke until they warm themselves in. If you're in one of the G20 nations, maybe you can adopt a test match like approach. One batsman out, the new batsman come in, first over, maiden over. You block, you pull away your bat, you do a kind of fancy thing, ball, you leave it on the offside, you stroke one, you walk away, you tap, give them some time. 1 over, 0 runs. 2 overs, 0 runs. 3 overs, 1 run, give them some time. 5 overs pass, after 30 balls, they are 4 runs. The test match like approach can probably be used for a G20 country. But you see, in our small, open, vulnerable economies, boss, it's T20 we playing, bro. It's T20 we playing. In the blink of an eye, something can happen that changes our circumstances. We don't have 4 overs to spare, bro. It's about give time. Boss, I was watching England play India today. And Jacks get out. Curran come in. The first ball 4 runs. The next ball 6. Ain't nobody giving the time to waste 2 overs and 3 overs to block. Our countries, our small open economies, comrades, and test match like each other. Listen, you realize you get them time. And they're fumbling. You realize that by June, July, well, no, it's March, April, May, June, July. In 4 or 5 months, we could have a hurricane, you know. You're going to have a hurricane. By the time we get to June, July, if this thing continues, we can have gas prices $20 something per gallon at the pumps. Grocery prices high. And while we're giving them time to fumble and figure out what to do, a hurricane come. Brrr. Give them time. Give them time. It's only 3 months. Do you know how much? Well, oh Lord. Make it worked up. You realize how much could happen in 3 months? In 3 months. December, January, February. In 3 months. You had the kidnapping of Maduro. You had boats being blown up in our waters that could have killed our own citizens. And you have a war taking place in the Middle East. And in a few more months, we could have a hurricane here. And you're telling me, give them time? These countries don't have the luxury of test match conditions, comrades. We have to be nimble. We have to be agile. We have to be able to deal with things as they pop up. Multitask. And you see, you saw that in the last administration, and they thought it was easy. You want time? Somebody said to me, I was in one of these areas. Somebody said to me, Mr. Marshall, for the year so far, no supplies and illicit materials, no supplies have been delivered to the school for the school feeding program. So far for the year. That particular primary school. I don't know if that is the situation across St. Vincent and the Grenadines. But in that particular area, at that particular school where the person is, no supplies. They said it is the school principal that has had to collect money to buy supplies to carry on the school feeding program at that particular school. But $1.5 million allocate for fix up house though. And plenty money being spent for a rent house though. But you can't feed we picking them in the school. And it is coming off the back of that. It is because of all of those coming off of the back of that. Give them time. That those who most specifically campaign and chuck things in the face and down the throat every morning, the propaganda. Oh, the country hard, labor. You want to know what they say now? Hear what they say now. The director is supposed to chop a
It would appear, I don't know about you, but it would appear to me that things have got somewhat harder of late. Now, I don't know if that is the post-Christmas and everybody bands their bellies a little bit, but it does seem as if things have got a little tighter for people.
Yeah, normally
the supermarkets look a little quieter to me. Yeah, the end of month comes and it doesn't look quite as
end of month
chaotic as it used to.
They're subdued, eh? You see they're subdued? You see they're subdued? Normally, if it's labor they're talking about, they hype, they're excited. But they campaign for this government. And they convinced you that the woes that you were feeling was because of this government. Not this. It was because of the ULP. They came on every morning and pushed down your throat the idea that it is because of the ULP why things are expensive. It is because of the ULP why things are hard. And now 3 months in, I made a post, President, please, and somebody who clearly didn't get it commented asking me if the country is at a standstill, how is it worst? Well, because by the admission of these fair gentlemen, things have gotten harder. As a teacher, you know, there's the comparative and the superlative form of the adjective. So the comparative, if you're comparing two things, you use the word harder. And the superlative, if it's 3 or more, you say the hardest. So in that statement, they're coming out from cheerleader number 1. He depends on board now, so you not really care. You get what you campaign for. He said, to him, things have gotten harder. That was end of February now. That was end of month February. We just say January is the hardest month. And we say so because you get pay since the middle of December. And me say January has 6 weeks. Because by the time you get paid around the 18th, 19th of December, when the first week in January done, that's already 3 weeks, you know. It's 3 weeks since you get paid. And so ordinarily, if you're looking at the time, every 4 weeks, you know, whatever, couple of weeks, by the 20th of January, you should get paid. But it's still another 10 days to go. That is why it's hard. Because of the length of the time, the period between which you get paid. It's about 6 weeks between your December paycheck and your January paycheck, but we are accustomed 4 weeks. But from the time January come, things level off, things normalize, I get paid, you pay your bills, you have money, things back to normal. But it is in the month of January that is hard. Because by the time the second week of January come, you're broke. But the end of January levels it back off and brings it back to normal. But here they are at the end of February saying that from at least the main cheerleader, from his vantage point, things have gotten a bit harder. And they're subdued. They ain't blaming nobody. They ain't pointing no finger. As a matter of fact, according to cheerleader number one, it's probably because it's January and it's a what? No, what? It's post Christmas. Post Christmas done since end of January, boss man. This is February we're talking about. This is February we're talking about. And I'm telling you this, that is a general perception across the country. You go across the country and people are telling you the place dead. Nothing happening. But these guys who campaigned, they're now subdued. Play the clip again. I want you to watch the body language. There's not the usual hype. There's not the usual what do you want to use? The energy, the usual energy when they're criticizing the government now about how take away things. There's not the usual enthusiasm in criticizing the government this time around. Look at how subdued they are, talking about how difficult things have become in the country under the government that they campaigned for. How I look at them, watch the body language. Look at Tukul in the middle frame there. Look at Tukul. Poor Jaguar. Jaguar they Tukul say end the montish. End the montish. How I play the game please again.
It would appear, I don't know about you, but it would appear to me that things have got somewhat harder of late. Now, I don't know if that is the post-Christmas and everybody bands their bellies a little bit, but it does seem as if things have got a little tighter for people.
What too cool.
Yeah. Normally
The supermarkets look a little quieter to me. Yeah. The end of month comes and it doesn't look quite as chaotic as it used to.
Look at the body look. Hey, say Ralph. Or just say Ralph because you're excited to get. Say ULP because you're excited to get. But here, they subdued. The shame. Things harder. The place tough. The place dead. And that's the experience of Vincentians across this country. I go North Leeward a couple of weeks ago when they had the Peterborough School. First of all, I was disappointed by this showing, really. It wasn't as big as it normally is. Even our Leeward wasn't as big as it normally is. People come to me and say, well, it's not happening in North Leeward, and North Leeward just dead. Just dead. So, you campaign telling people about the cost of living crisis that was brought on by Labour and put the money with the pennies and all those fancy phrases. They gave you a chance. You've done nothing to improve their lives. As a matter of fact, based on the observation, if I could quote what Luke said, it appears to me, based on the observation of one of your biggest proponents, one of the persons who carried the message out on the most popular station in the country, so your message went out there wide and far, based on his observation, not mine. If people come talk to me now, and he talked to the whole country. Based on his observation, things are dead, a little bit harder. Things have gotten a bit, not little, things have gotten a bit harder. And the mountain the same. It's not as chaotic, he says. People ain't up and down shopping. Tukul says, and the month A and the montish. And their body language speaks volume. That tells you all you need to know. They would get renewed energy if you say Ralph or Storm or Camilo. Yeah. All of a sudden, it becomes an exciting program for them and they fill it with excitement. But to address the issues impacting Vincentians now in an honest way, there's no excitement. And there is no finger pointing. There is no, well, you told the people that you're going to make their lives better from day one. Remember, Lick Up and say so? You promised people that you would make their lives better, not 1 month or 1 year after, but the very next day. Sounds like Trump. But 3 months in, your biggest supporters are observing that things have gotten harder. And based on your press conference, it appears that it has even harder to get. Because the truth is and the reality is, once the war continues, the impacts are going to reach us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, starting with the increase in the price of gas, of energy. And so the people who, I don't know if any one of you had the experience, but I have people come and walk up to me, people talking to me, people who telling me that normally they go pay $200 and something for the light bill. All of a sudden for January, the light bill was $700, $500. And I saw Domo Roberts post on Facebook. He first post I see. And other people have been coming and saying, my light bill that you had to something was $500, $400 something. Me not shop, me not freezer. Well, if January and February you pay those light bills and the war, the effects of the war hit us quite yet. Buy candle. Buy candle. You can't buy kerosene because that's also a derivative of the oil. So that'll go up too. And you know the merchants are going to take the prices of candle. And what goes up and don't come down? Prices. So he's bracing us for the eventuality of an increase in the cost of living because of the conflict in the Middle East and the eventual increase in prices of commodities. Simply because initially and ultimately the price of oil is going to go up, which would then impact the cost of shipping. It would impact the cost of production because these factories now, their energy costs going up, so the cost of production going up, so the cost of the goods go up, the cost of shipping the goods to you going to go up. Everything is going up. And I hear them talk about cost of living crisis, but they don't reach in their pocket for the excuse early. Or let me not say excuse, because it's a legitimate reason. It was a legitimate reason under Labour, and it will be a legitimate reason under NDP. I try to be consistent, and I'm going to tell you, and I said it before, expect increases in prices. There will be inflation, and there will be price increases as a result of the conflict in the Middle East. There will be. So unlike them, I am not going to blame them for the impact that you will feel. I am watching to see how they address it. That's the difference between me and them. They blame Ralph and Labour for what they termed a cost of living crisis brought on by the mismanagement of the economy. I am telling you that it ain't Ralph and Labour. I told you then it wasn't Ralph and Labour, and I'm telling you now, when the prices go up, it wouldn't be Friday and the NDP. It would be, in all honesty and in all fairness, a result of the things that are happening globally. But my issue would not be the impacts, the increase in prices, the increase to cost of living, and so forth. My concern would be how they address it, how they deal with it. how they cushion poor people, how they cushion the most vulnerable when these things start to happen. And my friends, like I said, this is not a test match. And we don't have test match conditions. We're not America. We're not Germany. We're not England. We don't have time. Before we are out of one, as was shown, I'm not going to end up just now. It's over an hour and a half, and I've been going. And I know those of you who are on love it, y'all ain't mind. As a matter of fact, instead of the numbers going down, the numbers going up. Are they coming on? But it's all right. As was shown recently, we don't have time. As was shown during COVID, we didn't have time to deal with COVID. It was not, give me a chance, let me deal with COVID. Because before COVID done, we had volcanic eruption, and we had to be dealing with individuals being in shelters during COVID. Wait about, give them time. Before you blink, another thing could come upon you. We not had the luxury of time, comrades. That is why you need a government that is experienced, that knows what it's doing. It's committed and hardworking. That's not what we have now. And before we could deal with volcano, we had Elsa. And when we think, yeah, boy, we're coming out of that. Let me breathe. Bap, burial come. Give them time. Give them time. So I hear nothing about how they're planning to address what's going on now. They want time. And by the time they settle on what they're going to do, you remember during COVID? Remember we had just done the budget in 2020? I think early 2021. And then we had to come up with a supplementary because we had to look for $100 million. You remember that? We don't have time. We don't have the luxury of time. And so the budget they just had, that's $105 million in deficit. Depending on how things happen within the next couple of weeks, they may have to come back with a supplementary to address issues relating to the cost of living of Vincentians. Give them time. That's what government is. You gotta be nimble. So you go on Facebook. Oh, it's a new government. It's only 3 months. They need time. Give them time. And by the time you come with a supplementary in April or May to address the crisis that we have been coming out from the fallout of the Middle East, there's a hurricane in July. You want time? Where were time out? You want blow whistle? Yeah, Friday and NDP. Sit down and breathe. Okay, I don't have to govern. I sound like farm boy. The farm boy big up enough love to you. This is more your thing. Cause you don't deal with the humor much better than me. I the humor man, but I don't try a thing. A farm boy, they want a timeout. They want a timeout. Give them time. Give them a water break. Things happening too quickly. But that's governance for you in small island states like ours. You didn't know, eh? And I know you'll be begging for the assistance of individuals to come out and speak. And I'll get frustrated when nobody. I have a platform. And I promise that I would not use my platform to mislead the Vincentian public. So I would not come on my platform and tell anybody that the inflation and the cost of living that we are seeing, if things continue as they're going with the Middle East, is because of the mismanagement of the economy by NDP. I will never do it because I know better. And already, I'm giving you a pass. Because even before your press conference, I did a press and please and made the point that our new government is going to face its toughest challenge yet. Because I know once these things happen, you're going to have inflation and they're going to have increase in prices. I know that. So I said that early. I did not wait on Prime Minister Friday to say that. Because I know that. I know that. But you could bet your bottom dollar. You could bet your bottom dollar that I'll be there to criticize your mishandling of it. You can bet your bottom dollar that if you mishandle it, and if you allow the most vulnerable of our society to suffer unnecessarily, I would criticize you and I'd hold you to task. But outside of that, I would support the government. I would support you in letting Vincentians know that we have to address the issues that are spilling off from what is happening in the Middle East. And that we'll see inflation and we'll see prices going up. And I would let them know, because I'm honest, that no. This is not Friday and the NDP causing inflation and causing a cost of living crisis. The cost of living is going up because we are importing things that we use. And as the prices of these commodities go up overseas, they're going to go up here as well. But I'll be anxious to see how you are going to address the impacts to make sure that the most vulnerable in our society is protected or are protected. The elderly, the infants, the young ones, the children, the ones who seem already not to be getting their school feeding supplies. If that is the case, Philip Jackson, Minister of Education, step it up now. Make sure the children are getting the supplies so they can get food. Yeah, that school feeding program that your government started, by the way, the NDP, and that the ULP expanded significantly. And I know because I taught, so I know what used to be food. I know what school feeding used to be, some bread and beef and a cup of milk, to now we're getting actual lunch. So I know. I started to teach in 1991. So I know. I saw the progression of what the school feeding program looks like. So I know. So yes, you started it. The government started it. And the ULP met it and expanded it to a full-fledged program. We could get breakfast and lunch. So we expect. I'm glad that the Prime Minister recognized that there's something called imported inflation. We need to import it and then export it out there. We need to export it. As soon as they come and export it back. I'm glad that he finally recognized that when these exogenous shocks occur, they impact us here in the Caribbean, in these small states. And there's not much we could do except to try and cushion as best we can those most vulnerable in our economy from those shocks. I'm glad he recognized that. It took him a while. It took him a while to recognize and admit that these things had been affecting us since COVID-19, and we've been dealing with it. It took him a while to recognize that. I'm glad. But so better late than never. But I always knew this. So welcome to the club. And with that, comrades, let me thank you for staying on. I had a much longer one than usual tonight. Uplate with Sehon Marshall. Again, the banner is at the bottom if you're interested in supporting the program and you are a user of the Zelle app, the Zelle application. The number is there on the screen. You just go into your Zelle app and you can feel free to donate as much or as little as you can to keep the program going. Let me thank all those who have activated membership. I really appreciate that. And don't forget that when you see the $3 come out on a card at the end of the month, don't question. Say, where the $3 come from? Remember, membership here, and I appreciate that. And for the 70% of you, 65% of you who watch the program but have not subscribed, if you have a YouTube account, please subscribe to the channel. That would really help the growth of the channel by you subscribing. If you don't, sign up for an account so you can subscribe. Because I said, based on the analytics I get when I watch it, it says about 65-70% of the individuals who view this program or who come to my channel and watch the videos, whether it's this or present, please, about 70% of you have not subscribed to the channel. I would love to get some of that 70% subscribing. All right. And so we could drop we could reverse it. We could have 70% subscribed and 30% non-subscribers. Yeah. So let's try and work for that again. So let me encourage you again to please like, share, subscribe, and support in any which way you can. And until next week, Thursday, when I will be back with you, God's willing, with another edition of Up Late with Sehon Marshall, let me wish you good night and God bless.